All right, well, welcome and Happy New Year, everyone. I believe it's January 2022 already. Where'd the time go? As we always say. Um, we've got a really nice program this evening. If you recognize the young man, he's in the middle of my screen, Mr. Zaid Abu-Rumman. He was our S4TL student this past year, and I've invited him back to have him share his experience, what he got out of it and how much he enjoyed it. And it was unique. I mean, he didn't have anything to compare it to of previous years. It was, like I said, it was rather unique the way they set it up as sort of a hybrid, where part was, I believe, in person and part was online at home. I'm going to go ahead and turn the program over to Zaid and have him tell you his experience.
All right. Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me back on to speak again. I had a really nice time last time, and I was really glad I can get on for a second time. I'm gonna try and share my screen here, so if you guys are unable to see like the PowerPoint I bring up in a second here, just let me know. All right, everybody can see that pretty clearly? All right, cool. So today I'm going to be presenting about the seminar for tomorrow's leaders. This occurred back in this past summer of 2021. So obviously we're into a new year, so it was still the last summer. And a lot of like team leaders were there from around the state, mostly from around the Tampa Bay area, because at least what I saw, there's a large concentration of like teen Rotarians just in the Tampa Bay area compared to any other region, but there is definitely some teens from Miami and Tallahassee, as well as Gainesville and Jacksonville. So first off, obviously you're able to meet a lot of new people, which is always just a blessing in its own, meeting new people every day, learning new backgrounds, ethnicities, all sorts of things. And I was really privileged to be able to go here. And I want to thank everybody for the support that I was able to get in going to this conference. So just a little bit about myself for anybody who wasn't here for the first presentation that I had. My name is Zaid Abu-Rumman. I'm a senior at Largo High School IB, and I'm in the IB program over there. So for anyone not in the area, which I'm assuming most people are from this area or know about it, it's one of the larger high schools in the area. And the IB program is what I did my previous presentation on. And oops, sorry about that. And it's one of the highest achieving programs that the county has to offer. So I've racked up about 100 plus volunteering hours across different platforms. I like to volunteer mostly at Suncoast Hospice, which is in Clearwater area, and I do a lot of work for the elderly and the people who are not doing too well in hospice care. So I do a lot of like crafts, artwork. So obviously, amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm not able to go visit them directly, but I'm able to do a lot of secondhand things to help them out. And lastly, I'm a student athlete. So that picture on the right there is me playing soccer previous to the time that I just tore my ACL. So I've been out for quite a bit of time, but that was just about last year. So starting off with the goal of S4TL here. So the goal of S4TL was to put together a group of young leaders and through different speakers and activities to increase our awareness of our own leadership qualities and how to use our leadership qualities for the betterment of our schools and communities. So as I'm going to talk about later on in this presentation, this seminar gave a lot of good points about leadership and a lot of good lessons that you can take back into a lot of different facets in life. For me, I'm volunteering, I'm a student athlete, so obviously I'm both in the classroom and on the field. So a lot of these qualities that I learned in this seminar, I can take onto multiple places that I am going in my life. So who was there? We had rising seniors from across the state, as I previously mentioned, who were involved in their school or community Rotary Club. And as I previously mentioned, a lot of people from the Tampa Bay area were there. And I was even able to recognize two people that I had known just from soccer at the club. So it was a good representation of this area particularly. So what did we do? Some of the main events were the first was rap sessions, which as much as it doesn't sound as like a leadership and inducing kind of activity, it really showed how like we were all kind of in our comfort zones when we first arrived there. And it was one of the first activities that they encouraged us to do, to kind of leave our comfort zones and to kind of embrace that leadership within us and to become more like self-aware amidst the group, and also to encourage participation. So second off, we had a lot of guest speakers daily, and they talked about a wide variety of things: leadership, self-determination, and giving a lot of motivational stories. And as well, we discussed a lot of global issues of importance to the current and coming generations. So some of the big issues on hand were uh, the impact of global warming and others that I'll talk about later on in this presentation. So two of my big takeaways were, the first one is the array of leaders that were present in the wider Rotary community proves that there is a well-founded cornerstone for the future of both our community and the wider globe. So upon visiting there, obviously with so much going on in the world right now and so much just hatred and a lot of things that, aren't too good to see in both our community and the wider world, it was a really good representation of the next generation of leaders coming through, myself included, and a lot of the people that I was meeting there. You could really tell that there was a global sense of engagement and also leadership to take charge of the issues that a lot of times are pushed aside nowadays by the established generation of leaders. And it really made me feel like there was some hope in just our generation as a whole to fix the issues that are, quite frankly, not being addressed properly in the modern day. And the second one, as I previously said, many issues were discussed in general. Global warming and access to education around the world were two of the main ones. So obviously global warming, there's a lot of ideas to stop global warming, electric cars being one of them. Big of the future ideas, electric cars with companies like Tesla. And a lot of what was discussed is how we can be using more renewable energy as gasoline products, such as cars with gasoline driven motors tend to emit a lot of CO2 in our environment, which is causing a lot of trouble right now, as scientists are predicting, in the global warming and the climate that is changing currently. And then as well, the access to education around the world is something that we truly took exception to, as a lot of us are students in highly achieving programs. We understand the importance of education and access to it worldwide. So this was among one of the bigger issues that we talked about how we can create a more communal education effort around the world to more or less third world countries and countries that have difficulties educating their citizens, such as one of the biggest ones is Haiti, where a lot of children are not being able to access free education, and those who aren't receiving the education they need are oftentimes, sold off. And a lot of Haiti is a big part of Haiti's student body is a Restavec system, which we had learned about in one of the speakers. And so he was a former Restavec, and it's a really bad system of like slavery and indentured servantry in Haiti, and kids over there who can't quite access the free education, their parents are often forced to give them off into this almost modern day slave trade. And it's really a poor system, and it's something that really would take a lot of courage to fix in the modern day. And it's something that we as a group kind of came together after we had heard his story to try and fix. So obviously one of the not so light moments of the entire seminar, but it's something that I think we need to be aware of, that it's happening in today and ways that we can fix it. So obviously leadership skills were among one of the other main, talking points of this seminar. And so overall for me, it taught me a lot about, being a better leader, and I felt that those skills of listening and prevailing as a leader, even when I'm in, an unfamiliar environment, are going to be of high importance for me in the future. And I'm sure that these same takeaways applied to other students that were there. I think a lot of us learned a lot about both our community and the wider globe, and how we can better ourselves as leaders for the next generation and tackle problems that might be pushed off to the side today. One of the other aspects of this seminar was the sense of being in a family. And I thought I noted heavily that I felt like I was becoming a part of a family as I, more engaged within this seminar and conference. And I felt like I was within a very well-concerned community. And it was established a lot of ideas about the future that we had all, shared in common. And I felt like I was becoming a part of a greater and wider family of leaders for the next generation. Overall, I really can't recommend this program to future S4TL students enough. There's a lot of valuable skills to be learned in this seminar about leadership, teamwork, and also learning about some things about today's world that might be swept under the rug or not very heard of often through some of the leaders and through some of the guest speakers that were telling their story. And a lot of those life lessons that we learn in this seminar for younger leaders within our community can really impact our future generations. All right, so that's all I had, and I'd be happy to take any questions you guys have in just 1 second when I can figure out how to stop screen sharing. All right.
That was excellent, Zaid. Thank you very much. My one question is, how much of this program was in person, and how much did you do online?
Yeah, so there were 4 total days that it lasted. And so 2 were online and 2 were in person and online. So we had 2 days where it was just online kind of activities going through the day from about 9 a.m. to somewhere around 3 p.m. We were on a Zoom meeting, kind of going into breakout rooms and with our specific groups. And then the final 2 days were going in person and being able to meet our group. And then later on in the day, once we would get home, we would actually debrief and go on Zoom again. So overall, I thought it was pretty balanced. And, considering the, timing, obviously, amidst a pandemic, I, don't think that there was too much better that they could have done. Obviously, I've heard that it's done in previous years at the Florida Southern College, which would have been a very unique and cool experience. But, I was happy to be as part of it. And it was really a great experience.
Great.
Where was it held?
Yeah, that was my question too.
What was that?
When you
I
did
didn't-
meet together,
I didn't quite get it.
where did you meet?
Where was it held?
Oh, it was held at the Bradenton Community Center. It's down in Palmetto. It was a really big area. I can't get the exact name of it off the top of my head, but I know it was down in Bradenton.
The Bradenton
one of the
Convention
communities.
Center, it's located in the Ellington Palmetto area, just north of Bradenton. And I know the area well. That's my old stuff. That's where I grew up. So I was actually thrilled. I would have loved to have been more involved in taking it down and such like. I just had to have a younger son that just had to graduate high school at the time, so we weren't able to go. But I was thrilled that it wasn't that far away. It was good. Probably why you had several people from this area that you knew.
Very likely. Yep.
Yeah, I had the opportunity a few years ago when they were still doing this in Lakeland to go and spend an afternoon and participate in one of the rap sessions, and it was very enlightening for me and very encouraging to be exposed to some of the great up and comers that were participating, and I was very impressed with how they were grasping some of the leadership issues and skills, and their knowledge and commitment and interest was very impressive. So I'm glad you had the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, it was very positive environment. That's the number one takeaway, is very positive environment of learning, and overall you walk away and you feel like you're part of a family now.
I had the privilege of spending a day and a night and a morning sleeping overnight in the dorms down there a few years ago. And I just couldn't believe the quality of the program, the presenters, and the attendees. And here's a perfect example of it. This guy is well put together and can well account for himself, and would be a good ambassador for anybody, anywhere. So that's a program that we have supported for many years, and our scholarship is named after, I forget the guy's name, but he was the key director of that at the time, and he passed away. But a great program. Good job, young man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I agree with that. 2 years ago, Will and I actually also had the opportunity to, we spent a day with our student, and you're right, Robin. It's very enlightening, and the kids are just, you don't know them, but you can just see them blossoming. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, Zaid, I have a question. Was the topic of discrimination and acceptance of all people touched upon in any of your sessions? And I know you're well versed to speak to that as a member of a Muslim family, particularly with all the concern and discrimination. Did that subject come up?
Yeah, it was certainly brought up amongst, a variety of issues across 4 days. A lot of issues were brought up, and that one was certainly one of them. A lot of people there was a big diverse group, so a lot of us could attest to, the feeling of being, not, I guess, just a minority feeling. And, I feel like today, obviously when you look at the news and a lot of events happening, it makes you kind of feel, maybe disenlightened. A lot of times it makes you concerned about, where the future of the world is going. But I feel like once I go out into those, communities like the Seminar for Tomorrow's Leaders, and, even my community, just, doing volunteer work with some of my friends, makes me feel like, there's a bigger and brighter future for just, not just this area, but, the country as a whole and the globe as a whole. It seems like we're, getting past that, and it makes you really feel enlightened to see, how far we've come, and especially, the hope for the future generations.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that you're a fine example of the future of leaders for this country and any other, and it gives us hope. I mean, I'm kind of on the down escalator in terms of exercising leadership, and you're going to be the next generation of people who are going to help get us out of some of the messes that me and my dad created.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, I think that leadership is something ignored in many aspects of life. And I think it's a tribute to Rotary, to the district, that we have this leadership conference. And there are many people who've written about leadership, one of which was passed down to me sort of late in my career, was a book by Colin Powell, who just passed away, and wrote a terrific book on leadership, which applies to all, not just the military, but all aspects of life.
Yeah, I certainly agree. Leadership is not just a, one pathway, in the future. I think, especially right now, amongst so much division, that we see even in our own country, but across the world, you know, the one thing that's really lacking is a clear focus of leadership. And, you know, I think when seeing how many people were there at the S4TL and meeting all these different people, it really gave me a lot of hope, you know, for the future generations, that we do have leaders that are truly concerned about, you know, the well-being of our community, the well-being of our extended community, even not just here in this nation, but across the world. You know, particularly hearing the story of the Haitian man that came and talked to us for a good hour or so. You know, his story was extremely revealing, and it made you truly seek motivation, you know, in his form. You know, he came from a very rough system in Haiti. As I had mentioned, he was part of the Rest of X system, which was really, really appalling, to say the least. And it makes you see that there's so many issues across the world that, you know, we tend to ignore just because so much division is present, and we forget about how much, you know, suffering is going around. And it really makes you feel the need for a new generation of leaders to take charge of these issues. And that's what I really felt, you know, I took away from it.
Good job. I think congratulations. You know, I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 18 years old,
Wow, good job.
just
You know,
turned 18.
you just turned 18. We don't have a lot of, you know, young people already, you know, thinking ahead of time. So congratulations, and I wish you all the best. I'm sure, you know, you will be a great leader soon.
Thank you so much.
He's a really a good part also of our neighborhood. Basically, he lives right across the street from us, and it was very fortuitous that we've been able to get to know the young man. Zaid, I have another question, and I'm sure you did notice, but obviously you're mentioning leadership, and yes, you know, the new leadership coming up. What were the different types that you may have noticed of leadership? I mean,
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, one of the big topics were how many different leaders there are, because there is not just like one way to be a leader. You know, there's different people who lead by example, lead by communication, you know, lead by a variety of ways. And we learned about how we can lead in different scenarios. You know, obviously now we're students, so making change and being a leader now, as opposed to being a leader 20 years down the line, is a very different kind of path. So, you know, a lot of what's now is focused on, you know, student activism, being a part of a group, you know, because obviously you can't make a change as one person. You have to, you know, get a wider outreach of people to join your movement. And that's one thing, you know, across all of the people that were present, is activism, and not just their own community, but in the wider outreach. A lot of us do, you know, volunteer work, and we also try and, you know, raise awareness for current issues. I know at my school, there was actually no one from my school other than me, obviously, who was there, but there was from other schools who we had done similar ideas about 2 years ago, when we had a walkout from school one day, you know, against climate change, or just to raise awareness for climate change during like the last period of the day. And it was, you know, organized by a larger body of students. So, you know, leadership now versus leadership 20 years down the line for our generation is a lot different. And we learned how, you know, leaders of larger or older age groups can function differently as opposed to us. And we learned about different types of leaders, as I mentioned, you know, like people who lead by example, people who lead by communication, and other types of leadership skills and qualities.
so you would be more apt, say 20 years from now, to look at a person that's 17, 18, 19 years old in a leadership type position, and better understand that they are going to see things more than likely different than than you are seeing them at that point, maybe even than you would have seen them, now.
Of course, yep. That's one big thing is, obviously with generations, as generations come and go, there's, different perspectives on a variety of issues. So
Mhm.
as much as global warming is an issue for this generation now, generations of past who might be in leadership positions still today, like some people in Congress, Senate, etc., they might not see global warming as quite as big of an issue as our generation might see it, just because they didn't grow up with it and they're not quite as noticing the effects of it, versus maybe our generation who still has a larger concern for the future, as we're starting to more understand. And that's partly because of school technology and all sorts of things, where now we can access a wide range of topics, learning statistics, etc., through different websites and whatnot to learn about these kinds of issues. Whereas generations ago, this information might not have been available. So a lot of it has to do with a shift in perspective that comes across generations. And I'm sure as our generation moves on towards higher leadership positions and becoming older, a new generation will see certain issues in a different light than us. And I think that's extremely important to the way that society functions in general, because I think to have a ranging and shifting pendulum of perspectives kind of contributes to a larger sense of community, and how we can all have different perspectives on issues. We just have to kind of come together and tackle the root causes of certain issues that might be affecting our future.
Yeah, since you mentioned global warming and that being a concern, and various age groups, Zaid, there's a senator from Oklahoma named Jim Inhofe, who wrote a book called The Greatest Hoax: How the Global Warming Conspiracy Threatens Your Future. And his lasting statement was that global warming is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the American people. So that was some years ago. And I kind of wonder, he's still in Congress. And that's the kind of negative leadership, in my opinion, that we want to try to overcome. So, denial of science.
Yeah, that's big. One big issue. And, something that was actually talked about a lot at the seminar is, how we have like this establishment of leaders that have been in charge for so long now. And, not that they haven't gotten anything done, because they definitely have made some, progress. But I think that it's, one big issue is how long people can stay in leadership positions. A lot of congressmen are becoming reelected now for the umpteenth time, still staying in positions of leadership. And, with that position of leadership comes a responsibility. And, if you're not keeping up with that responsibility as a leader, not just here in the US, but across the world, then, some change is definitely necessary. And so that's one of the big things that was kind of, discussed, is that, how many people, and, just taking the United States as a small sample size, how many people in Congress have been there for, so many years, might see things one way and not change that way. And it might be time to, bring new generations and new perspectives in that kind of see things in a different light than they may have or may do.
Right.
There we go. Any other questions or comments? No. Again, Zaid, wonderful. Thank you.
Only one final thing. Zaid, tell your dad that fish chowder was great.
I will, no problem.
Zaid caught the fish. His dad made it into chowder and had us
We
over.
made a curry.
Curry, yeah, fish curry.
Yes, it was very good.
Yeah, it was very good. I just had the last little bit of it last night. Still good a week later.
Definitely was from frozen fish. So that brings me to say that well, we've got everybody online here. Now's as good a time as any to start looking for our next S4TL student. Zaid, have you had the opportunity to be asked to go back?
I haven't been quite yet. There's a small process, I believe, of writing a letter to one of the ladies there, and then also having a recommendation from the upper class, I guess, of leaders that have gone through the program. So every year it kind of cuts down a little. So there's like, I guess, 50, 60 people of my class, and then the next year, the upper class, they become upperclassmen, and 10 are selected, you know. So I think there was like a kind of process that I went through, and I'm still kind of seeing what is needed to be done. I'm
Okay.
still in contact with my team leader. So, however, if there is a need for a next, you know, S4TL, you know, student to go there, there's a couple of people that, you know, I would recommend. I could
Okay.
send you, you know, recommendations, or they could, you know, come in from my school that I know would, you know, be suited for that kind of position, and have them maybe come talk for maybe one meeting, and you know.
That would be excellent. That would be excellent. Yeah, the S4TL is within this area, central Gulf Coast of Florida. I would have to recap on all the districts it covers. I believe it covers 3 districts, us and one north and one south.
Yeah.
So it's 6950, 6960, and possibly 6890, but I'm not that. I think 6890 is Hillsborough, so that's my.
It's 689.
6890. Yeah.
Okay, so I was right. Okay, cool. Very cool. So anybody who of our club that you know that lives in those 3 districts proper, please feel free to do some research in your local high schools. It is open. What Zaid, the program Zaid went through, this part of S4TL is open to rising seniors. So it occurs in the summer between the students' junior and senior year of high school. And then when I was talking about Zaid going back, they have the next step of the program is there is a certain percentage of those students that are invited back by the program leaders to then be in a more leadership type position, and then go from there. So again, the request is out. So yes, and definitely Zaid, the people that the young people, you know, definitely have them get in touch with me, and we can see if we can't schedule a time when they can come on and talk for a few short minutes. Again, the program is usually in June, somewhere thereabouts. I don't know if the exact date's been set yet for this summer, but yeah, we'll need to get working on it. So great, thanks again.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys inviting me to speak again. I had a really nice time. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna continue on this evening with a short talk. As you all should know, yes, David.
Just as a follow-up, in one of the districts, the clubs used to use students from their Interact clubs, specifically ones in their junior year, so that when they came into the senior year, they were fully trained and very effective in the Interact club. I don't know if that is appropriate to reach out to some of the clubs that have Interact clubs associated with them within the applicable districts.
Well, one nice thing about our district governor coming up, our DDE, is he is huge in Interact, and he has a really good connection supposedly with other high schools. Largo High School does not have an Interact Club right now. And that's one of my goals, is to hopefully get in touch with the powers that be at Largo High School and see if we can't get an e-Interact Club started. But I'm actually waiting for a phone call from our DGE. I need to talk to them about a few other things anyway. So that's definitely I can add that to my list. That's a good idea. Thank you. Okay, to continue with this evening, as everybody knows, January is Rotary Vocational Service Month. Andy Hammond is our Vocational Service Committee chairperson. He's a kind of a one-man band, so to speak. 2 years ago, I was the vocational service chair. So he and I have actually very recently been talking about what we can do this month to for our club to recognize vocational service. So Andy, do you want to talk any about the ideas that we've kind of been throwing around and seeing what kind of response we can get?
Sure. I'd be glad to. Of course, this is Alicia's idea, so I'm going to give her the credit. And apparently in the past, as you mentioned, maybe a couple of years ago, you took some time to canvass the membership and ask for nominations, identification of people that we could recognize who were outstanding in the area of vocational service. And Alicia asked if we might want to consider doing that this year, this being Vocational Service Month. Couple of thoughts that came to my mind was, would we necessarily have to limit this to individuals? Could we recognize an institution? I'm sure all the counties have various vocational training institutions. We have several here in Citrus County, ranging from the Key Training Center, which does vocational training for individuals with needs, and all the way to a vocational training college in Inverness. So there's a lot of different institutions. At my point in my career, vocationally, having been retired and in a new community from where I was really working, I don't have a lot of feelers out there for people specifically. It's just those that I read about and that sort of thing. So I think this would have to be something that all of our membership would have to think about and help us identify one or more. I think, Alicia, you said before that you gave the person you selected in the end a certificate. Certificates are nice. I have quite a pile of them. I think what I'd like the club to consider is, if we do this, could we do something a little bit more than a paper certificate, and maybe a modest plaque, or particularly if it was an institution, a moderate contribution to their effort. Not a lot, but just something that says we recognize the good work they do. I think those were the questions and thoughts I had, Alicia. Was there something else I left out?
No, that pretty much sums it up. So that's what we've been talking about. A couple of years ago, we had recognized somebody from the Largo community Now, being a club that meets online, basically, it made it a little bit more challenging to, when we just did the certificate, give the certificate. What we actually did was Will and I chose a local Rotary club, said, hey, we're an E-club, vocational service month. We have a person that we have chosen, our club has chosen to be recognized. Can we use part of your club meeting to present the certificate? And we actually went to Clearwater Rotary Club, which is a very big club in our area, and we're able to personally present the certificate. And so, again, we can do that if any member has an individual or a group or a company that they want to recognize. I would see the ability to get in touch with a local Rotary Terra Club in the area to do a formal presentation. And of course, it'll be recognized on our online meeting thread and on our Zoom meeting. I believe that we are looking at looking for candidates throughout this month only. Andy and I were talking about timelines 2 years ago. I gave everybody 2 months, and then of course in December the holidays hit. A lot of people forgot. We found somebody in January. We presented the award in February. 2 weeks doesn't seem long enough. So we're looking at possibly using the most of the month of January. Robin, you had a question?
Some comments. In prior years, we have had multiple nominations and multiple recipients of this award. It's an inexpensive way for the club to give some recognition to somebody who in the ordinary course of events would never even be noticed. And it makes quite a difference in their life and in their standing in their community and with their family if we publicize it correctly.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it's not restricted to Rotarians. It can be anybody who we see who is going above and beyond. And I think all our members should be charged with trying to nominate somebody in their local communities. We have a fairly widespread reach now.
Yes.
So it could be useful to push it out. And I wouldn't limit it to January. I'd say, give it 6 or 8 weeks and then do the presentation. January can be the time to start searching.
Right. Right. Sounds good. Yeah, we our membership covers, I think now it's 26 or 27 different districts proper. So we've got a lot of area that we cover. Then there's a lot of potential out there to find people. And you're right. Yeah. Actually, the person that was recognized 2 years ago definitely seriously considered joining Rotary. So he was not a Rotarian. I don't believe he ended up joining, but he definitely was considering it. And so that, another benefit, bring somebody else into Rotary. All right. Thank you, Andy. We'll work on it. We'll stay in touch.
All right.
We'll get some, let's try to get something out within the next week to the general membership.
Yeah, just send me a note what the next step is you want me to take.
Okay, cool. We'll do. All right, thank you. Okay. Anything else for the the good of the club for this evening? Yes, Mr. Will.
I would just, I just throw out there that on the 21st of January, one of the Rotary clubs in our district has asked me to speak on the subject of Area 51, which I've expanded into Are We Alone in the Universe, and Area 51, 52, 53 ad nauseum. But if any of you are interested in the subject of what else is out there, I've spent 30 years in looking into that subject with a lot of military people. So I'll be talking about that on the 21st.
We'll make sure we get the information out to the membership. Hopefully it will be on the club that Will's working with, that he's going to speak to. They're working on getting it on the district calendar. So if you get on DACTV and go to the district calendar, hopefully we'll have it on. I'm hoping by the end of the week. I mean, that's what they're trying to work on. Get the word out.
Will, is this, are you Zoom or is it an in-person or both?
No, it'll be a Zoom presentation, hopefully with screen sharing. I've got to check that out. So.
Okay, great. Give us an opportunity.
Okay, I'm putting together the PowerPoint now.
Alicia,
Yes.
could I ask PDG Will a segue about new members? I know it's beginning of 2022, but maybe you can give an update. And is that extraterrestrial or not?
Well, you know, the E-Club always talks about our far reach. So I'm not excluding any applicants that come to me and I desire to put before the board. So,
Okay.
you know, you can kind of stand by on that. But right now, I have no new applicants. And that's also another subject to talk about. I have an idea that I want to talk with you, Dr. Andy, about how we can get extend the reach of our exposure.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, and so there's no Romulans or Vulcans, right? Obviously not.
No, there are a couple of Romulans who are trying to get in, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Not unless they bring a lot of ale.
Oh, okay, there you go. Well, that's for Robin. Robin gets all of those Rotarians. Thank you, Governor Will.
We'll look forward to that. Definitely. All right. Anything else? If we do the four-way test, I will ask that the board members stay on. We'll have a brief meeting after the main meeting here, and then we'll retire for the evening. Anyway, anything else for the good of the club? Or just because? Okay. All right, let's do the four-way test. All the things we think, say, and
Think,
do.
do, and say. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair
Fair
to
to
all
all
concerned?
concerned.
Will it
Will
build
it
goodwill and
build
better
goodwill and better
friendship? Will it be
Will it be
beneficial
beneficial to all
concerned?
Maybe I think maybe if we put it to music, we might get a little bit more harmony going.
And is it fun? Yeah.
Auto-tune.
Whoop, whoop. All right, and Malona, I will speak with you on Wednesday.
That's right. Yeah.
So I will send you the link and see you then.
All right. Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone. Bye.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye now.